It was always the same. Every morning at 7:05 sharp, the black Bentley would glide to a stop in front of Rosie's diner, a small-town cafe that smelled like fresh pancakes and brewed hope. And every morning, silence would fall like a thick fog the moment he walked in. Gerald Whittaker. The name alone made shoulders tense and spines straighten. A self-made tech millionaire with a temper as short as his patience. He barked orders instead of speaking, criticized the coffee like it had personally wronged him, and never once said thank you. People said he used to be kind, years ago, before his wife died and before success hardened him like cement. Now, his smile was extinct. His heart, if he still had one, was buried deep beneath layers of bitterness. The staff at Rosie's called him Hurricane Whittaker behind the counter. Most avoided him. All feared him. Until Grace arrived. Grace was 26, new in town, with sun-kissed curls, kind eyes, and an old soul. She had come to Willow Creek with nothing but a suitcase and a need to start over. No one asked why she left her last town, and she never offered. But she worked hard, treated everyone with warmth, and hummed softly when pouring coffee, like she was filling mugs with peace itself. Her first morning shift happened to be a Thursday. 7:05, the door chimed. In came the storm. He took his usual booth by the window and snapped his fingers before even sitting down. Black coffee. No sugar. No cream. Hot. Not lukewarm, not scalding. Do you understand, or is that too complicated? Grace looked at him calmly, notebook in hand. Got it. Black coffee. Got anything else in your heart besides bitterness today? The diner froze. Whittaker blinked. Slowly. Like no one had ever dared speak to him that way. You're new, he said. She smiled. You're not. And then she walked off. That was the moment everything started to change. The first few days, he tried to rattle her like he did the others, complained about his eggs, the temperature, the service. But Grace never flinched. She met his fury with kindness and clever wit. When he grumbled, "This toast is like cardboard," she'd reply, "Perfect for your dry sense of humor." And still bring him a fresh plate. The other staff watched in awe. The regulars whispered. The hurricane had met his match, and she wasn't fighting him. She was seeing him. One morning, after a week of this quiet resistance, Gerald arrived late. 7:38. He looked different. Paler. Slower. He sat down without a word. Grace approached, soft concern in her voice. You all right? He said nothing. Just stared out the window. She brought the coffee anyway. No comments. No sass. A full hour passed before he finally said, "It's her birthday today." Grace sat across from him, just for a moment. Your wife? He nodded. His lip trembled. She used to love this place. Before I bought half the block and turned it into parking lots. Grace didn't speak. Just reached across the table and placed a small, sugar cookie in front of him. Heart-shaped. Sprinkled with red. On the house, she said. For her. And for you. That was the first time anyone in the diner saw Gerald Whittaker cry. The next morning, he came in smiling. Not wide, but enough. He brought a tip so big the staff thought it was a mistake. And he started saying please. Over the next few weeks, things kept changing. He'd hold the door for others. Ask Grace about her day. Offer to pay for the meals of strangers. And one snowy Tuesday, he came in early and hung up a framed photo near the booth, his wife, laughing with a milkshake in her hand, right there in that very diner. Beneath it, a small plaque, in memory of kindness. One quiet afternoon, Grace sat by him during her break. He looked better now. Lighter. Why me? She asked. Why did you let me talk to you like that, when no one else could? He looked at her thoughtfully. You weren't afraid of me. You saw past what I was, and treated me like what I used to be. Grace smiled. Everyone deserves that. Especially those who forget they do. Months later, the cafe had changed. Laughter was louder. The staff smiled more. And every Thursday, Gerald sponsored a free meal for anyone who walked in before 8 a.m. As for Grace, she eventually opened her own bakery across the street, thanks to a surprise investment from a certain rude millionaire turned soft-hearted friend. The sign above the shop. Grace notes, where kindness is always on the menu. Sometimes, the people who act the hardest are those who've hurt the deepest. And all it takes is one soul brave enough to respond to anger with compassion, for a storm to become still. Because when we see past people's walls, we give them permission to tear them down. And in a world aching for kindness, that is no small miracle.